Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and today I decided it was time for another LokeQuest quest. However, today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Rather than planning ahead, I kind of wanted to take everything that I had and apply some random number generation and create something randomly. I'd like to do that today by rolling dice and just going wherever the dice tell me to go. To facilitate this, I have a D10 and a D20, very common dice to get, and I have all of my Loki materials here. I'm only missing the set of wilderness books, which of course are no longer in print, and we have 3 different sets of 2 books each for the larger books of battle mats from Loki battle mats, and 3 of the individual mini edition books. So to begin, I would like to select 2 of these books. It doesn't matter which 2, I'm going to let the die tell me exactly which 2 to select. There are 10 faces on this die, but only 9 books. So when I roll a 0, it'll be dealer's choice, and I'll get to pick which book I want. So the first number rolled is a 6, and I'm going to just count from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's going to be this book, the Towns and Taverns Book of Battle Mats Volume 1. And the second book in this set will be 4, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one is going to be the Dungeon Book of Battle Mats Volume 1. Okay, so the Loki Battle Mats books are 20 sets of 2 pages or 40 pages altogether. So I should be able to roll a d20 and just multiply the result by 2 in order to get the set of pages that I'm going to be using, because I am pretty sure that I'd like to use both pages in a given set rather than just one side or the other. So to do this, I'll go ahead and roll my d20 for the top book. Oh, however, I guess I could make this a little more interesting. In fact, I'll go ahead and roll a d6 along with this, and I don't have any d6 within reach right here. In fact, the only one I have is this extremely tiny one that came in the blister packs of cardboard pirate ships that you would open like regular cards and then come to pull out the card stock of the pirate ships that you'd punch out and then put together to make 3D pirate ships. It was one of the coolest games that ever existed. I really need to find out the name of it so I can get back into it and collect it and unbox it here on the channel. But I'll roll this d6, and if I roll a 1 or a 2, I'll use the left hand side of the set of maps that I land on only. If I roll a 3 or a 4, I'll use the right-hand side only, and if I use a 5 or a 6, roll a 5 or a 6, I'll use both in my map quest today. So we'll roll these dice together, and the first one I rolled is an 18, and the second, the d6 has rolled a 2. So I'm just going to use the left side of set 18, and that's going to be the maps that end 20 on 36. This would be the 18th page out of the 20 pages. This would be the 18th set of maps in this set of 20 maps in this top book. And the 2 means that I'm only going to use what's on the left-hand side. So it looks like we've got a dock set up for fishing, and a bit of town road, a little tower in which we might be able to hide some treasure or somebody that we're hunting down. Not sure yet. Not sure what the context of this should be until I have rolled for my second map. Let's go ahead and do that. We're getting out the Dungeon Book of Battle Mats, rolling our d20 right on the face of the book. We got a 2, that's going to be the second set of maps in there, and a 3, which means I'm only going to use the right side. I don't know why I feel the need to show you the die result. It's not like I'm cheesing the die roll. I'm not fudging the die roll, I promise. So the second set of maps in here, this being the first, thank goodness we're not using that set. Here's the second set, and I'm only using the right-hand side. Okay, here's my challenge. And this wasn't intended to be a challenge video, but I'm beginning to see that that's very much the case. We need to be able to incorporate these 2 maps together somehow. That will allow us to actually create a cohesive and, more importantly, fun quest in the style of HeroQuest. So I'm going to work my magic, and we will go from there. Okay, I think I've come up with something, and so brave heroes, beware the invasion of the Frozen Army. The invasion of the Frozen Army is a quest for 4 heroes who may be in between campaigns or veteran heroes if they're looking for a quick skirmish. A lot of these LokeQuest map battles end up being very skirmish-like due to the very open nature of a lot of the LokeQuest maps. And I'm not a skirmish gamer, and I do tend to think that skirmishes in the context of a dungeon crawler could be seen as a bit boring. I don't know if that is the case. So for me, I try to spruce these up with some pacing and a little bit of mechanical ingenuity for each skirmish. That should just be true of any skirmish, whether you're in a dungeon in close quarters or not. But for this quest, tell the heroes that they need to investigate the waterways of Waterway Village. The actual village is a few kilometers out from the purpose of the village, which is a settlement that was built near a system of levees along a river. Goblins have been spotted in the area, and where there are goblins, there is almost always Zargon thereafter. However, it's a bit worse than goblins this time. Oh, it's always worse than goblins. It's the middle of winter, and the frozen flags, waved by the terrible armies of the tundra, have been sighted in the village. From the village. They haven't made it to the village. In this quest, the heroes will need to investigate the waterways. This is the first in a series of such quests, the introduction to what the waterways are, why this small village is in charge of this important function, and what Zargon might have to gain by invading it and taking control of it. If your hero party contains an elf or any miniature that was sculpted to look like an elf, such as a rogue, then the elf will be able to point out that there are wolves on the opposite side of this small bridge. If not, these wolves do not get placed on the map, and the heroes will only discover them once they have moved into the wolves' line of sight. When that happens, the hero's turn immediately ends. The wolf who can see the hero will howl, and all of the wolves will now take their turn. This is the first of a few skirmishes, and the idea of this quest is to slowly trickle all of the forces of the Frozen Horror against the heroes. Now, by all of the forces, I mean the 3 wolves, the 3 gremlins, the 2 polar warbears, and the 2 yetis. We're not actually putting the Frozen Horror on this board, and we're not going to be using any of the mercenaries or men-at-arms that came with the Frozen Horror. Once the wolves have been dispatched, the heroes will feel a little bit more comfortable advancing on to the next map. If there is a dwarf in the party, or a sculpt of a hero that is meant to look like a dwarf or a halfling, they should be able to, at this point, notice that the water movement seems to have come to a frozen halt underground. This means that wherever the water is flowing to before it gets filtered and pumped and distributed to the villages of the kingdom nearby, operations have come to a standstill. Now, lack of water could be a lot of very bad things, the start of many bad things, and so this needs to be investigated immediately. To do this, the heroes will need to search the 3 rooms that are contained on this map. But they may not want to take too long. For every turn that passes, every round of hero turns that passes rather, we'll see one of the following enemies spawn: a yeti, an ice gremlin, or a polar warbear. The yetis will come from this door, and they will continue to approach from this side until the heroes have opened this door and have searched this room. Until that happens, the yetis can appear one at a time at the door. Zargon, you have 2 yetis. If you use both of your yetis and they get killed, there will be no more yetis. Of polar warbears, Zargon also has 2. These will come from the tower if they spawn. Once a total of 2 polar warbears have spawned and have been laid low, Zargon, you will not be able to summon any more polar warbears. Finally, the ice gremlins. I know that all of the heroes are going to be watching this door intently for ice gremlins, but actually they live under the bridge, so they're going to be coming here. If there are no other monsters on the board, Zargon, go ahead and spawn all your ice gremlins. But Ash, I'm Zargon. How do I spawn these monsters? Just pick one. Pick one to spawn and then place it on the board as appropriate. But remember, this is your reserves for this battle. Once you've used all of these monsters, no more monsters. Not unless the heroes find a wandering monster card while searching for treasure. Now, if the heroes search the tower for treasure, I don't know why all the heroes would want to go in here and search for treasure together. I guess we're playing the version where every hero can search one room for treasure. They will find the Tower Keeper's notes, and the Tower Keeper is missing. The Tower Keeper last sighted the banner of the Frozen Horror waving in the distance. He didn't want to believe it at the time, but it seemed like the flag itself was moving. And it was the Tower Keeper's fear that the forces of the Frozen Horror may be traveling via ship. This means a couple of terrible things. It means that, well, they're on a ship and they're coming, and if the Tower Keeper's missing and all of this stuff is going down now, it means they're here. And it also means that they were able to get the resources together to build a ship on a river already in the kingdom. By the way, I don't really have a preference for who the wandering monster should be in this quest. At the very least, it should be an ice gremlin, but if you'd like it to be a yeti once or twice, be my guest. Make the decision that makes the most sense for the level of your party of heroes. If the heroes search the gatehouse, they'll find various keys and notes that will detail passage in the tunnels below, as well as instructions for operating very specific mechanisms that will help control the waterways. They'll need these, so allow the heroes to take these items. Consider that they all have this knowledge now, and you'll be able to deliver the appropriate narrative when they reach that specific mechanic in the following quests later. If the heroes search this room, place down this tile. This is how the armies of the Frozen Horror have infiltrated the waterways. This is why we don't have ice on the board. Well, that and Loki didn't provide art for ice to be on this river. There's no frozen body of water here, but never mind that. This is actually the exit to this quest. However, when you first find it, a polar warbear will appear climbing out of the hole. This is how you know that this is an active entrance/exit for the forces of Zargon into the waterways. Heroes, once you have slain this polar warbear and have searched this room, you'll find that this hole leads to a more or less safe slide, and the heroes can take this, thereby exiting the quest. The heroes can also go into this storeroom and search it for treasure as well. If they do, feel free to give them healing potions or healing items in the form of frozen fish for the trials ahead. I'd really like to implement a fishing system for HeroQuest, so any quest that has bodies of water like this, the heroes will be able to fish from them. It may be a bit odd having the rest of your party of heroes battling goblins and such, while one hero, the dwarf, is off just casting a line into the water repeatedly, trying to get treasure from the water, but ultimately, it should boil down to maybe the same sort of mechanic as searching a room for treasure. We need a fishing deck, that's what we need. That's the end of this first in a series of quests, heroes, but whether or not we get to the second quest entirely depends on the luck of the dice. I hope that you enjoyed this quest. If you do play it, please let me know how it turned out, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, comment anything you'd like down below, and have a great rest of your day. Onward, brave heroes.